Hi, everybody. Welcome to Being Badam. I am Tina Badam. I am beginning this YouTube channel as a means to give everybody a relatable person to come to for recipes and life stories and things along those lines. I think everybody needs a relatable guru, and I hope to be that for some of you. I struggle myself with finding someone to be a little bit relatable to when it comes to these types of blogs and video blogs and all of that. So I hope to be that voice for you. To start off with, I'd like to do a little bit of an introduction of myself, and then we will move into a recipe for my first video. I plan to do this, upload videos, a couple times a week maybe. Definitely some recipes and some life stories and maybe some other hacks that I can come up with to share with you guys. So to start off with, I am a 36-year-old mother of two. I have one daughter who is 18. She just turned 18 on August 1st, and she is on her way to college next week, actually. So really interesting times in terms of that. She is from my first marriage, and I am remarried now to a very wonderful man that I met online on a dating app, interestingly enough, and thankfully he was not a serial killer. And we were able to get married, and we have a very happy life together here in the U.S. He moved over here about a year ago, I guess it was, permanently. So it's been quite a journey for us. We've kind of gone through a lot of the immigration stuff. It's been very interesting. So certainly if anybody has any questions about that process, hit me up in the comments below. I'm certainly happy to share my experience on that if that's some type of video that you guys would be interested in seeing. It's been a long journey, and I had a lot of questions, and I was lucky enough to have a lot of really supportive people to field those questions too. So anyway, he lives here with me now. We live on the eastern side of the United States, and we have a daughter that just turned, well, she'll be 5 months old here in just a couple of weeks. So I have one leaving the nest and one that's just entered the nest. So we definitely have an interesting take on what reality looks like as a parent from those two ends of the spectrum. So definitely love to be able to share my experience in that manner also. And, being an older mom, I was only 18 when I had my first daughter. So being a mother now versus being a mother then is very, vastly different, two different worlds. So definitely excited to share that experience, and, any questions or anything that you guys have, please just let me know. Yeah, I think that's a good brief rundown of my life. I hope that my experiences and the things that we talk about on this channel are going to be useful for somebody to be able to take that and do something with it in your life. I don't know. And if nothing else, maybe it'll just be entertaining. Certainly plan to have my husband on here a lot. He's a piece of entertainment all on his own. He's very funny. And my daughter, both of them. Definitely looking forward to doing this channel, and I just hope that it really does well. So to start off with today, we are actually going to be making a chicken dinner. My husband and I are very big fans of Indian food and those kinds of spices. So we're actually going to be making what's called a roasted turmeric chicken with sweet potatoes. Yes, that is a sweet potato from my grandmother's garden that she sent to us. So we're going to get that peeled up and eat it. But it will be roasted turmeric chicken with sweet potatoes, onions, and I'm also going to make some Parmesan Green Beans, or as my husband would say, Parmesan. So, yeah, we're going to get all those things made up for you guys, and I'm going to start by going ahead and cutting up my vegetables. I've got some onions from my grandmother's garden as well that we're going to use in this recipe. So this does yield 2 servings, and my husband and I are on Weight Watchers. We do the green smart points. So just so you know, this meal for 1 serving is going to be about 11 green smart points. So keep that in mind when you're cooking, and that's per serving. So I'm only going to make 2 servings here, so you will see me kind of weighing stuff out, but that's because my husband and I are very much trying to lose weight and trying to be healthier all around. Had some pretty bad cholesterol numbers last time, so just saying, everybody loves it when they get to tell their husbands what for, but it was actually me that had the bad cholesterol, so chop chop, we're back on doing some healthy stuff here. So I'm going to go ahead and get the vegetables cut up, and then I will come back to you guys here in just a second. Okay, so what I have done is I have taken these sweet potatoes, and I peeled it, and I've cut it up, and I did weigh it. It's about 14 ounces, which is just really one large sweet potato is kind of what you're looking for. So we get a little bit of extra on that one. And the onions, you can use shallots or you can use actual onions. I just took 2 small garden onions, which are about the size of, well, just a small white onion would even work. And you just want to go ahead and slice that up into quarters. And that's the same thing you want to do with the sweet potatoes. You want to make that about 1 inch thick, and you want to cut those into quarters, and that put those into a large mixing bowl. So that's what I've done there. The next thing that we want to do is we want to get a couple of cloves of garlic, and we want to mince them. So I take my garlic press here, which I love, and I'm going to go ahead and put my garlic in. And we're just going to go ahead and press that directly over the bowl. So what I'm going to do in order to make that work, I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera down. Okay, so you're looking at the view of the bowl right now. And I do have some of these that are a little bit thicker than 1 inch. So what I might do is I might just go ahead and cut those down just a little bit, because I want to make sure that everything cooks good and even. The last thing we want is to have vegetables that are not done. So 1/2 inch to 1 inch, I would say, in thickness. 1 inch best, but I'm going to go ahead and cut those a little bit thinner. Might even help to save on some cooking time. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and mince the garlic down in here. And I probably do this the hard way, honestly, because again, I'm definitely no professional chef, but certainly am doing my best. So I'll just go ahead and take the rest of that's in there and kind of pull it out of there. Camera almost fell. Let's try to not let that happen. Oop, and I turned the camera around back here. Okay, we're back. So we've got the garlic in there now, and I'm just going to rearrange this so that we don't have that problem again. Let's make sure that it doesn't fall over again. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move my garlic press over to the side. We won't be needing that again. All right, so next we want to go ahead and toss this around with some turmeric, some ginger, and some salt. And again, I'm going to link the recipe in the bottom there. So we're going to go ahead and add 1 teaspoon of this turmeric. A lot, I'm sorry. My teaspoon is 3, so we're going to use the 1/2 teaspoon. I'm going to just roughly measure out a teaspoon. It's okay if it's a little bit more. You know, spice is one of those things that's you can make up if you put too much in there. Okay, so we got 1 teaspoon of turmeric that I've just put down in there. We're going to go ahead and put a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. Just even though we have garlic in there, the garlic powder just kind of adds a little bit of extra. And who doesn't love garlic, right? So we're going to put 1/2 teaspoon. You see just 1/2 teaspoon I've just put down in there. And then we're going to go ahead and add another 1/2 teaspoon, this time of ground ginger. And get that lid off and get that put in there as well. So definitely lots of flavors here. Like I said, my husband and I are big fans of these types of spices. I cook with them a lot. So all right, so we've got that in there. We want to make sure that we get enough salt in, and I do use kosher salt for this recipe, and I'll just kind of show you there's some kosher salt there. Because it's just, it seems to be a little bit easier. So we're going to use 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. Remember, kosher salt you can use more because it's not as heavily concentrated. So we're going to put 1 teaspoon of salt in, kosher salt in with that. And then we are going to put in some olive oil. So we're going to do 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And I am using an unfiltered olive oil, extra virgin. I typically go with first cold press, but I mean, you could use really any kind of oil that you wanted. I buy this brand from Walmart. I do spend a little bit more on it, but that is just because I really like the way that this olive oil cooks up. So definitely a good olive oil there. So we'll go ahead and get that out of the way. All right. So now we've got our spices in. We're just going to go ahead and give that a good toss there. Use your hands, use a spoon or a fork or whatever you want, but you just want to make sure that we get that good and tossed up. So we'll get that turmeric all mixed in there really well. Make sure the vegetables are good and coated. It smells really good already. We haven't even gotten it into the oven yet, so that's going to be very tasty. Another thing that you can add here, if you like a little bit of spice, if you wanted it to be a little spicy, you could put in a little cayenne pepper. I do like spice. I also really like crushed red pepper for this, so you could do either or. I might even throw in just a couple of flakes of crushed red pepper because I do really enjoy that kind of kick to it. The other thing that we really like to add here is just, I did put some red pepper flakes on there in case you're wondering. I had to wash all the turmeric off my hands because it does make a mess. You could use really any kind of spice when it comes to this, whatever makes you happy. Poultry seasoning is really good, or they call them herbes de Provence, or I actually like this really nice lemon pepper seasoning salt. We are going to put a little bit of lemon in later, and it mixes and fuses well with the ginger, so I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of that in there. Not really, probably enough to make about 1/4 teaspoon. I'm just sprinkling it because I don't want to add too much extra salt to this mixture, and I'm just going to give that a good little toss around with my measuring spoon. Don't you love that? Whatever works. I just don't want to put my hands back into the turmeric because I'd have to go wash them again. Okay, so I've got that put in there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get our 9x13 pan. So let me get this pulled up just a little bit here. I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing over here. So we've got our 9x13 inch baking pan. It's a glass pan that I'm using. You could use a metal. I don't think that really makes that much of a difference, but yeah, but for this particular one, I'm going to go ahead and use the glass. Now, I have this handy little spritzer that I got from Amazon that I filled with olive oil to the top. Let's put this up here so I can see you guys, or rather see myself in the video. There we go. I love this. This is probably one of the best investments that I've ever made. As you can see, it does a nice spritz over things. It's not just like one little stream. So it's much better for you than the cooking spray that a lot of people use. It can add a little bit more in terms of points and stuff, but I would prefer to use this than the spray with the other contents. Okay, so we've got that good and sprayed with some oil. That is just base olive oil in there. So I'm going to go ahead and put my vegetables into my baking dish. Make sure I get everything out of here so it looks like I don't have to wash my hands after all. I'm going to put that all down in there just so it's all good and loaded up. I do like to take my onions and kind of put them on top, only because they tend to get soft a little bit faster than the sweet potatoes. So I just want to make sure that everything gets cooked evenly. So I'm going to go ahead and move those onions to the top of the dish as best I can. I mean, you're never going to get all of it, but at least close. I think that'll do. All right, so let's drop this into our sink, and I'm going to go ahead and wash the turmeric off of my hands. All right, so we've got all of that done now. Let me just kind of show you. I've made a mess here with my water and turmeric. As you can see there, this is what it looks like in the pan. So I'll move my oil back down because I'm definitely going to need that again. So once I've got this, we want to go ahead and we've got that arranged into an even layer here. It's too fine that I've got one piece that's still real thick, so I'm going to go ahead and just slice that up. Make sure I get some seasoning on both sides of that too. We'll just pop that there. Okay, good. Next, we want to get our chicken. So I'm actually going to be using chicken breast for this. You can use thighs or drumsticks or legs or whatever type of chicken you prefer. I am just going to use a standard chicken breast just because it is a lean meat, and I actually really prefer chicken thighs, but we don't have any currently unfrozen, so chicken breasts it will be. One thing I forgot to mention is to preheat your oven. So we're going to go ahead and preheat our oven to 425 degrees. So let me get that put on there to a 425. We'll let that go ahead start heating up. My oven was actually already hot because I made some banana nut muffins earlier. So that was a video that got botched as I was trying to upload it. I actually did make it, but there was no sound. So yeah, I may have to do that one again some other time because the banana nut muffins were phenomenal. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the task at hand. So now we've got that arranged in an even layer. I'm going to go ahead and scoot that to the back. I'm not sure why I have all these dishes out. I have grabbed my mixing bowl back and I've washed it out, so we don't have any residue left in there. I'm going to go ahead and put my chicken, which as you can see, we freeze chicken in this house, so there's definitely a good amount of frozen chicken. But I'm going to go ahead and take that and put that into my... good and cold. I'm going to put it down into my bowl there. thing I might do, just because I like the, I definitely want to put some salt and pepper on this chicken. So you can use kosher salt. I'm actually just going to use a little bit of grindable Himalayan pink salt on the chicken. Put a little bit over there, and then I'll flip them and do the same thing. Oh, look at that. I actually have 3 pieces of chicken in here as opposed to 2. And now I've touched the chicken, so I've got to find a better way to do the salt. That was difficult. Well, look at that. I have 4, actually. 4 chicken breasts, which probably equals out to be about the same because of the amount that I put in there. So let me get my hands washed, and then we'll come back to getting the chicken salted and peppered. Okay, so my hands are washed now. I'm going to go ahead and just put some salt on there, and I'm actually going to use the fresh ground pepper. Put some of that on there as well. We really love this ground pepper, so I really don't think you can go wrong if you like it. So I've got that on. Let's get that off there. Okay, the other thing that I have here, I have already actually taken my lemons and I have juiced them. You can see I have this little Pampered Chef juicer that I use. Love it, by the way. Love it, love it, love it. One of my favorite pieces. I do have it set to strain, so I'm just going to go ahead and pour that lemon juice over top of my chicken. Perfect. We'll rinse that up here shortly. All right, so we've got the lemon. Let me kind of bring this in here and let you see what it looks like in the bowl there. I'm just going to kind of swirl it around so you can see that that's all getting mixed up in there. And once I've got that done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to transfer my chicken to my pan. I'm actually going to use some tongs to do that, just because I don't like touching the raw chicken. We're going to go ahead and just give that a good toss around what's in the bowl there. And I'm going to go ahead and lay that down on top of my vegetables. Another thing you can do is you could actually leave the bowl with some of the turmeric in it. Now, I didn't want to overpower my meat with the turmeric, but you can leave that in the bowl and then toss the chicken in the same turmeric as well. And now that I'm looking at it, I kind of feel like I might need something. So I'm going to go ahead and get those all good and sanitized up there. I'm going to go ahead and just put another little layer of pepper. Oops. I've dropped all of my items up here. Hold on, guys. Let me get that all fixed. There we go. Just a nice little toss of pepper over top of it. And I think I am going to add just a little bit more turmeric. Now, I have this on the pour thing, so I'm not going to put much. I just want a little thin layer. So I'm just going to barely put that over top. Just like that. And maybe just a little bit of the lemon pepper. I think that'll make a nice change. Okay, so once I've got all of that in, just like you see there, we're going to go ahead and you could use white wine, but I'm actually just going to use this organic bone broth that I get from Walmart. I love bone broth more than chicken stock, just because, and of course different recipes call for different things, but I just happen to really like this because I think that it adds a little bit more value to the meat, considering we're using boneless chicken. You know, nothing is as good as putting bone-in chicken in your food, just because it's way better for you. So using the boneless chicken, I'm going to add just a little bit of this bone broth, so it gives it a little bit of that extra flavor. But feasibly, you could use chicken stock or chicken broth or whatever you have lying around. I actually like sometimes to use the Weiler's chicken broth cubes. If I don't have any chicken broth on hand, you can put boiling water in with that and it works just as well. And it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So really good. One cube does 1 cup. So I'm going to go ahead and use about 1/4 cup of bone broth. And I did shake this up really well. I just opened it yesterday. So we got about 1/4 cup. And now I think what I'd like to do is I'm going to go ahead and just put this around the edges here. We're just going to do it all around the edges. Just to make sure I get everything good and put in there. So we've got a nice little liquidy layer there at the bottom. Okay. I think I can get one more use out of that bone broth. So, all right, so we've got all of that put in now. You can see what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and cover this with aluminum foil. I really love these Reynolds wrap sheets that I get from the Dollar Tree. Get 25 for $1, and I know some people just like using the foil wrap rolled, and that's perfectly fine too. I just happen to like the sheets. They're really handy for cookies. So I'm going to go ahead and cover that up with aluminum foil. One more sheet here. This might be where a sheet would come in handy. Usually I didn't have that many problems pulling that out, but for some reason it wants to be a booger tonight. There we go. Alright, so we've got it all wrapped tightly with the aluminum foil. I always struggle getting this around the pan edges. I haven't been very good at that. My mom was always like master. And let me just kind of pull that down there and let you guys see what that looks like. I'm not really sure what's happening with that. Alright. You can see it's all good and covered. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we've got it covered with aluminum foil. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that in the oven for about 45 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and set our timer. My oven is actually just coming up to speed, so we're going to give it just another minute to... We're actually going to give it just another minute for it to get to 425 degrees before I go and pop this in the oven. So I'll be back in just a second. Okay guys, so that's my oven letting me know that it is up to temp. So we're going to go ahead and take our little dish here and we're going to put it into the oven for 45 minutes. Let's go ahead and get that popped in. I'm going to set a timer here for 45 minutes on the actual clock. 45 minutes on the button. Okay, so we will come back when, well, we're actually going to come back when the timer goes off. We will have to put it back in for just a little bit longer, most likely. You would have to definitely, if you're using a bone-in chicken, you'd have to put it in for another 15 minutes at least. With the boneless, it might be a little less than that, or we might even be done after the 45. But I think I'm going to take it out. I'm going to turn everything over, and we'll pop it back in for another 10 to 15 minutes and see where we are at that point. So I will see you guys in 45 minutes. Hey guys, welcome back. So currently we have about 20 minutes remaining on the chicken in the oven. So I wanted to go ahead and get started with our Parmesan green beans. So what I have done, or what I'm doing actually, is I'm going to go ahead and spritz the pan with some of this olive oil, just to make sure we don't get any stickies. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then I have actually laid down parchment paper on here. I find that parchment paper works really well in the oven. It keeps me from having to clean the pan so much and doing damage to the pan. So I really like using parchment paper. I just kind of cut it down to size and fold it to make it fit. So we're going to start with some fresh green beans from my grandmother's garden. Again, I have, my husband actually just helped me string them, and we've cleaned them really well. They need to be completely dry in order for you to put these into the oven with the cheese and other things. So we're going to go ahead and put them on the sheet pan. And we're going to need about a teaspoon of olive oil. And we're going to just drizzle that oil all over it. So let me just go ahead and get that measured out. And I'm just going to kind of drizzle just like that. Now, if you feel like that did not cover it completely or didn't do a good enough job, you can use a spray, which I might do as well just because I feel like a couple of areas did not. So I'm going to use my handy sprayer and just spritz a little bit of oil over top of them. We really want it to be good and saturated with that oil so that the cheese really sticks to it. So, got that done. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to put about... I'd say a quarter. Let's do a quarter of a teaspoon of garlic powder. That's what we're going to put there. Just maybe a little bit under a quarter. And I'm just going to, again, like with the olive oil, I'm going to drizzle that over. Let me see if I have any. Yeah, we'll go ahead and just, you want to kind of make that as even as you can. So just drizzling it over top. It's going to give it a good garlicky flavor. And I'm of the belief that you can never use too much garlic, so you can lay it on if you'd like. You do want some salt and pepper. Now, you can use regular salt. I choose kosher salt just because it's a little bit less concentrated. So I don't have to use, I would have to use more in order to get the same as table salt. And I don't like a lot of salt on my food anyway, so we're just going to drizzle a little bit of that kosher table salt over top of that. So, and again, I just used this Morton's kosher salt. Pop that back up here. And then we want to use some fresh ground black pepper. This is actually one of my husband and I's favorite spice. We love using this on just about any and every recipe that I do, I mean, other than desserts, of course. So I'm just going to go ahead and grind some of that over top. Use as much or as little as you like. We like a lot. And for the final step, we are going to go ahead and put some Parmesan cheese on top. So I am going to use some of this that's already been ground up. You can freshly grind if you like. I just happen to have some of this left over, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. Or at least use most of it. We're going to use just under a tablespoon. Again, this is going to yield about 2 servings, and for Weight Watchers, it's important to kind of stay on terms with that. So with Weight Watchers, for 1 serving of this, makes 2, it's going to be 1 point for green. I think it actually equates to 1 point for purple, and the other color, blue, I think it is, as well. But green, definitely the one that we use, it's going to be 1 point. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sprinkle this cheese over top. So probably easier just to do this by hand, to be honest. I just wanted to measure that out. So we're going to put the Parmesan on top. I'm going to get another one. So we're going to do about a tablespoon here just to do that. Make sure we get it good and popped on top of there. Okay. I've got my cheese on, and look, I still have some left, so we'll have to find something to do with that later. No worries, we love Parmesan also. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to toss these around in that cheese and garlic mixture. I want it good and coated. Another thing you can do is, if you notice here that they're a little bit too dry, you can spray some more oil on there if you like. Just remember, the more oil that you use or spray, the more you're going to add to the calorie count. This is why we do this. I actually just found a place in one of my beans. So, okay. I've got that pretty much as tossed, I think, as that's going to get. And what we'll do is once our timer gets down and we go in and get the chicken out, we're going to put the chicken back in for about 15 minutes. So for the last 10 minutes of that, I'm going to put this on the bottom rack under the chicken. That's going to allow for it to cook. Well, I'll probably put it in actually with the chicken when we get to 15 minutes. So I will be back here in about 15 minutes to go ahead and put this on with the chicken. Hey guys. Okay, so timer is going off. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off, and we're going to get it out of the oven. Smells really good. Let's just see how 45 minutes did. I'm a little worried that might have been too long, but let's just see what we've got here. Ooh, a little hot to get the lid off. Oh no, that's perfect. Okay. So, lid's come off. I'm going to leave the temperature at 425 because we are going to put it back in uncovered. You can see all of that. Got that clean now. So give me just a second. Let's get all this ready to go. 1 second. Okay, so I've got my, and I just lost what those are called. Sorry, I got a little distracted there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my tongs to turn these over. Got it there. The sweet potatoes are really good and done, so I'm going to be real careful with those. I don't want them to mush or mash. Chicken still needs a little bit, so we're just going to go ahead and turn all of those over. Looks so good. Give me just a second and I will actually pull it over so you can see what that looks like from this angle. Very colorful. So, got the chicken all turned around. It's got some really good smell there. Let's see if I can kind of lean this in a little bit so you can see. Good and colorful. Got my green beans ready to go too. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use a basting brush just to take some of this down on the bottom to put on top of my chicken here. One of the downfalls to cooking chicken in the oven is that it does dry it out. So we want to try to keep it as moist as we can. I'm going to go ahead and put some of that on top of there. And that sauce is going to make a really good almost gravy for it after this is all said and done. Once we plate it, we're going to go ahead and put that on top. Okay. Got everything basted. So we're going to go ahead and put this back in the oven. I'm going to put it on the, we're actually just going to place that on the top rack there. I do have 2 racks. It's kind of centered towards the middle, and then we've got a lower rack underneath it. So I'm going to put in my chicken on top, and I'm going to put in my green beans underneath. So let's go ahead and get the chicken put back in. And we're going to go ahead and take the green beans, and we're going to put those right up underneath there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and set a timer for 10 minutes. Even though the chicken needs to stay in for an additional 15, we're going to do 10 because I need to actually toss the green beans around after those 10 minutes. So we'll be back in 10 minutes to toss up some green beans. Hey guys, back. All right, so timer's going off. It's been 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and get that set up for another 5. And just give it 1 second. I'm going to pull out the green beans. Ooh, my glass is just fogged up. Get these tossed around. They look really good though. So we're going to go ahead and just get those a nice toss. Very nice. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and pop those back in for the remaining 5 minutes. Okay, we put that back in there. My chicken's looking really great. So we're going to go ahead and start the timer. 5 minutes. I will be back. Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, so final part of the video. I'm going to go ahead and turn off this timer. Go ahead and turn the oven off too, because I think we are finally finished. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take out the chicken first, just so I can test for doneness. It looks really good. So we'll leave the green beans in for just a second longer. Just going to have a look here. It does. It looks really, really good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move the chicken over to a plate. And we just want to take the thickest piece and just test it. Just make sure we're actually done. Last thing we want to do is have raw chicken for dinner. I think we're good though. We've had it in there long enough. And the chicken is actually really good and tender. Yummy. Definitely no pink left in that. So, because we had to use the smaller pieces of chicken, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to plate up to a plate here. Go ahead and looks really good. Okay, so I've got 2 plates. We're going to go ahead and scoop up. I think we actually would do better using a spatula to get the sweet potatoes and the onions out. I'm going to go ahead and put some down on the plate first. Remember, this is 2 servings, so you can do half and half of the vegetables. Half vegetables, half other. Okay. 1 more there. And I think what I'm going to do, because we do have I'm going to lay the chicken down almost on top of the vegetables here. So go ahead and take this thick piece of chicken and we're going to just kind of lay it across. Same with that little piece there. And there is that part of it. Probably should have done that with the other one as well, but I did not. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to go ahead and pop this chicken back in for a second and get my vegetables up. Presentation is a big part of any meal, so I definitely want it to look nice as well as taste good. One thing that you can do here, just to kind of add a little bit more presentation, which, you know, I'm a big fan of. You can actually, just gonna kind of lay that chicken on top like that. Nice big pieces there. You can also take the rest of the sauce here and just kind of drizzle it down over the chicken like I've done there. Do that just to put a little drizzle over top. Do the same for this one with what's left. Not a whole lot left, which is good. It means that we didn't really have like excess things. Pull that up. Yeah, so I think that pretty much gets that. Again, one thing that you can do at this point is you can take a little bit of black pepper. Just kind of put that on top. So let me get this stuff unplugged here. Just going to scoop this back out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and grab the green beans out. Now, we are not going to be having any bread with dinner tonight just because, well, really we don't need it. But you can serve this with bread of any kind. I'm going to go ahead and get these green beans off of here and put those on the side of the plate. You can see I have a really nice looking dinner there. And I am going to do just a little taste test, but let me go ahead and plate up my husband's too. And you're just going to split those green beans in half between the two plates. A little extra there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just have a little taste test here. So another reason why I really love the parchment paper. That's going to be super easy to clean up. So let's go ahead and grab this. I'm just going to have a little taste. Very, very good. The flavors fuse together really well. I am going to put a little pepper on top, just because I do like those. And I can taste the hot little kick of pepper flakes that I put onto the other stuff. So we'll give my husband a little bit there. But that's it, guys. So here we took about an hour and a half, I guess, including prep work. But from start to finish, you have your wonderful turmeric roasted chicken with spiced sweet potatoes and onions and Parmesan green beans. So that's the other thing I didn't try. So let me do that before I let you go. I don't think there's a way to go wrong. Might have got a little too much pepper. Goodness, sorry. I inhaled a little piece of pepper there. So maybe you can have too much pepper. So yeah, it's really, really good though. The flavors are really good. So, oh, scared me to death. Definitely need a new pan, apparently. That's what that sound means. So start to finish, about an hour and 20 minutes or so. I hope you guys enjoy. So we'll see you next time on Being Badam. Bye, guys.